Hey guys, Ariel over here at Nyth. Just going to do a quick video today about something that probably most of you don't need any help with, but that is washing dishes. Now, like I said, I'm sure a lot of you guys do know how to do dishes and don't need any help with that, but I've been in a few houses where I realized that some people did not actually know how to efficiently clean dishes. And the biggest thing for me is working with trying to be as water efficient as possible because I carry all the water that I use in my house. So, you will hear the water pump kick on and off. That does make some noise. That's part of having a small setup like this that's kind of like an RV and having a pump in the house. And so I'm going to go ahead. I usually accumulate a little pile of dishes from a meal or two, making something, whatever. I try not to wash dishes when I've only got, one plate or something, just because that's not very efficient. But I tend to pile them over here in my baker sink. I've got a double sink. This side is much bigger. This one's smaller. My small one, I make sure I've cleaned out my sink basin, put my drain in it. Now, I always try to wash dishes with water as hot as possible. So, I'm going to use super hot water. I'm only putting whatever that is, like a cup and a half of water in there. Try to use a natural dish soap with no chemicals at all, natural plant surface, I can never pronounce that word, surfactants, stuff that breaks up oil. So, because I don't want anything toxic because of where my water is draining and watering trees. So, put a tiny bit in there, get just a tiny bit of water in here, not even enough to totally cover the bottom of my sink pan, and I'm going to start washing right now. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is start with whatever is the cleanest dish. In my household, usually the least dirty thing is going to be a glass that probably had water and maybe some juice in it. So I'm going to just, use my soapy dish rag. I like nice cotton dish rags. I'm not a fan at all of using little scrubbies of various kinds or, what are those little foam things called? I'm drawing a blank on the name. Anyway, they tend to sit around damp on sink edges and grow a lot of bacteria, which I don't like. So I've washed, my glass, which wasn't very dirty to start with, but made sure I got the whole rim there. And now I'm going to rinse it, again, with the hottest water possible, but I'm just rinsing all the soap off and straight back into my sink. All done, put it over in the drainer. Now, if you are using a more natural soap, do be aware that it's not going to suds up as much as you're used to with most commercial soaps with lots of sudsing agents. So I want my next least dirty thing, and that's probably going to be these couple trays from my sprouting kit. I've got, you can probably see the green right there, I've got 2 trays full of sprouts that are ready to go. These 2 I've eaten in the last couple days, and I've got some more soaking already to pour into here and get another batch started, because I do grow sprouts all winter long. If you're interested, check out my video on how I do that. It's a great source of food. So again, I've washed these. I almost never turn this on the whole way like that because, a half trickle like that is plenty to rinse almost anything. And I'm again rinsing back into my sink. So now I've got maybe a ½ inch of water in my sink. I'm going to look through my pile for next least dirty. And as I go, I tend to collect all the silverware and utensils like this into one pot or bowl or something, and it's got a little bit of water in it already, because as I wash my hands or something throughout the day, I let that go into there so they can soak so that nothing's dried on hard. Looks like next least dirty is a lid. Probably got just a little bit of oil on the bottom of it, but from whatever was cooking, but not really filthy or very greasy. So I'm just going to keep repeating this process. And the one exception to my scrubby rule is I do have some of these stainless steel scrubbies. They don't tend to grow bacteria. They dry out pretty quickly. And this didn't actually, but if anything is cooked on or really dried on, they're really great for scrubbing things off efficiently. Here I can find them. Local grocery stores don't always have them, but often the dollar store will in like little 3-packs. Or I'm sure you can order them from Amazon or something. But I do like those little steel scrubbies. So I'm continuing to go through my dish pile here as I get, further into the dirtier and dirtier items. If it's something that's water soluble, in my mind that's less dirty than something that's really oily or greasy. So, I'm trying to remember what was in here. Oh, there was flowers in there, so that was a vase. So that, for instance, would be less dirty than this, which had butter in it, because that is going to be greasy. So I'm going to wash this first. Actually get it, because my water's fairly hard here, which tastes amazing, but it you do get a bit of mineral buildup on things like a jar when you've got flowers in there for a couple weeks, and it kind of leaves a mineral residue on the side. Still just rinsing back into here. I don't even have a full inch of water into the bottom of my sink yet, and I'm almost half done with my dishes. Got a few more lids. Oftentimes lids for most things are going to be on the less dirty end of the dish spectrum in general. And I do like to rinse everything thoroughly, and if you rinse things with as hot a water as you can possibly stand on your hands, it will be, they dry pretty quick and usually pretty spotless. Even though I have hard water, I don't use any kind of drying rinse aid or anything to keep there from being spots on the glass. I know some people are going to say this is a deal breaker for them, that they can't have a dishwasher in a tiny house. You can have a dishwasher in a tiny house. I know people who do. Like a lot of other things in a small space, you can have pretty close to whatever you want, probably just not everything you want. So you would have to take up the space from something else if that was important to you. And you would have to have water and power to operate it, which would be an issue for me with my off-grid setup, but not necessarily for all tiny houses. However, even when I lived in houses with a dishwasher, I've never really liked them that well. They don't tend to clean that well. They're not very efficient. They use a lot of water, a lot of electricity compared to just washing your dishes by hand. And I don't hate dishwashing. Admittedly, I don't usually have giant piles of dishes with it just being me here, but I did grow up as the oldest of 7 kids and in a household with an awful lot of dishes. And it's not like it's my favorite way to spend a vacation, but it's not a bad chore. And I do have a, if you can see over here, I've got a stainless steel drain rack that goes straight into my sink, and so my stainless steel dish rack sits right on that, and anything that drips falls straight through and drains back into the sink, not on the counter. I had also just a little bit of water in this bowl, which was used for making fudge. I've got a video on that. Again, from just like washing my hands or something, I let it run in here. So that's been sitting here. It's cold, but I'm going to use it to kind of wash off the worst of the dirt before putting it in my cleaner dishwater. So now this water's kind of brown. Just going to pour that out on my dirty side of the sink and actually wash the bowl in my soapy water now. But that way I'm not putting a whole lot of dirty, cruddy chunks into my clean wash water, which helps me to not change it so often and just use less water overall. Love these big stainless steel bowls. They're just useful for everything, and I don't like using a lot of plastic, so put that in there. Now I'm down to the fairly dirty stuff, like a measuring cup that had butter in it, so that I know is going to be oily. Like I said, using a more natural dish soap, you're not going to get lots of suds, so there's not a lot of bubbles on here. But you can tell when something's greasy if you look at it. You can see whether the grease has been cut or if you need more soap. That's still looking just fine. So now I'm down to my very last thing, which is my little pot here, which is where I stacked all of my silverware and utensils. So they've been soaking in there, so nothing is dried on. I'll put them down in there. Again, just going to get the worst of the dirt out of the pot over on this side of the sink, so I'm not putting a bunch of crud into my clean dishwater. And then sometimes I even take a little scoop like that because there's still some dry, not dried on, but stuck on stuff in this pot. So I'm going to just use my little metal scrubby and rinse a scoop of that back into my dirty side before I go over to actually washing it in my clean side. So some water has certainly gone down the drain in the other side of the sink, but it was all water that would have just run down the drain anyway from doing other things throughout the day, like washing hands. So I'm not counting that necessarily as part of my dishwater. Now I'm down to almost my last dish, and I do want to end up with this all clean, and I've got plenty of water in here. So I'm actually going to rinse this over here so I can kind of rinse out that sink as I go, because now it's got some dirt in because I've been putting all my dirties in there. And if you don't want to have to clean your drains, even if you've got a garbage disposal, putting lots of chunks down them is going to make you have disposal problems. I do always keep one of these little thingies in there to catch any chunks, so I can put them in my trash can instead. And I don't want to be washing food chunks down my drain because I don't want to attract wild animals to my drain water. So again, I'm just gonna wash off my utensils here. I am draining the water into this side of the sink at this point. With soapware, I like to go through and thoroughly just wipe both ends of it. Got some kind of funky shaped forks, but I got them for a really good deal at a garage sale many years ago, so they're the forks I've been using ever since. Got all the silverware washed, grab the whole handful, rinse it really quick. Again, with this water being scalding hot, they're all going to dry with no water spotting or anything else. So now I've got maybe 2 inches of water in my sink on this side. Not a whole lot. I'm done with all my dishes. I've got a whole drain full. But before I just yank the plug on this and let it drain, I want to show you how much is actually in here. And I want to clean up the sink so that it's all clean when I'm done. Okay, there you go. There's my sink. Dish rag in it. You can see there's not much suds in the water. Not super dirty. It's only... it's only like that deep. Oh, there we go. Only about that deep. So that's my total dishwater I've used. And now, before I yank the plug, I'm going to just kind of use my rag and use the remains of my dishwater to kind of wipe down this sink where I was dumping my dirty stuff. Wipe down the inside walls of this sink. And at this point, I'll actually pull the plug and let the rest of that drain. Now I'll do one final, I don't know if I can hold the camera and do this, one final little rinse with clean water. Kind of using my rag to squeegee it around the sink like that, so that I don't have any chunks of crud or anything like that left. This is simpler to do with 2 hands free. So I've rinsed everything down. I don't know exactly what that translates to in gallons of water, but my sink is clean, my dishes are done, and I did not use very much water at all. The dishes are back there draining. There's actually some sweet potatoes under there I'd washed earlier. That's going to be part of dinner. Dishes all draining. There you can see the stainless steel rack, and that drains straight into the sink. Anyway, hopefully that's a some helpful tips if you've got a need to keep your water use minimal, and maybe if you just never had parents that taught you an efficient way to wash dishes. Also, while I've been washing dishes, Grizzly's been over here supervising from the couch, which she's kind of claimed as her personal spot to relax. And we're actually getting snowfall outside. You can see the big fluffy flakes sticking to the porch, and you can hear my generator running probably. I don't know how well you can see in the dark, but there's big snowflakes drifting down right there. It'll be nice, kind of clean everything up again. Thanks for watching, folks. If you're interested in more info on my off-grid tiny house life, check out some of my other videos here. And if you like what you're seeing, click the little picture of my house to subscribe, and then hit the little bell so YouTube actually notifies you every time there's a new video available. See y'all next time.